Hi everybody, I am Brian Mullins the Fox. Welcome to the video in which I make my last ever culture shock prediction. Now to be clear, all of the upcoming statistics and forecasts are based and built on an anti-model that will most likely comport with reality if the circumstances are met, meaning that this is not a model that is completely contrary to reality. It will most likely go against any and all unrealistic yet overly optimistic models that any Canadian or American can come up with. So let's start this video the right way. Now before I get going, I want to address a little bit of foreshadowing I missed, but it's a good thing that I missed this bit of foreshadowing because it only benefits my prediction. And when I say prediction in this context, I don't mean the one I'm about to make in this video, the last one I made. Okay. Trump has either planned or is planning to disinvite all Democrats from Christmas dinner, which is kind of funny. But if that's true, oh my god, my prediction coming true this Christmas would only just add on top of that. But let's get back to the video. Now before I go into the prediction itself, the actual prediction I'm gonna make in this video, let's get into statistics. Take it away, text-to-speech bot Matthew for the raw numbers, and Christopher for the price and future stats. I will let them respectively cover more of them as I go along, so I can give my voice a break here and there, because I really need to for the rant.
Purchase stats, consumption. 2017, 3,300,000 turkeys. 2018, 2,400,000 turkeys. 2019, 2,700,000 turkeys. 2020, 2,900,000 turkeys. 2021, 2,100,000 turkeys. 2022, 316,915 turkeys. 2023, 2,600,000 turkeys. 2024, 2,003,462 turkeys. Waste statistics, in individual units. 2017, 1,155,000 turkeys. 2018, 840,000 turkeys. 2019, 945,000 turkeys. 2020, 1,015,000 turkeys. 2021, 735,000 turkeys. 2022, 110,920 turkeys. 2023, 910,000 turkeys. 2024, 701,212 turkeys. Actual number of those that were consumed, in individual units. 2017, 2,145,000 turkeys. 2018, 1,560,000 turkeys. 2019, 1,755,000 turkeys. 2020, 1,885,000 turkeys. 2021, 1,365,000 turkeys. 2022, 205,995 turkeys. 2023, 1,690,000 turkeys. 2024, 1,302,250 turkeys. And that's about it.
Price of the average Canadian post-roast game turkey, £16. 2017, $2 Canadian and 23 cents per pound, 35 Canadian dollars and 68 cents. 2018, $1 Canadian and 32 cents per pound, 21 Canadian dollars and 12 cents. 2019, $1 Canadian and 11 cents per pound, 17 Canadian dollars and 76 cents. 2020, $8 Canadian and 2 cents per pound, 128 Canadian dollars and 32 cents. 2021, $9 Canadian and 85 cents per pound, 157 Canadian dollars and 60 cents. 2022, $2 Canadian and 93 cents per pound, 46 Canadian dollars and 87 cents. 2023, $10 Canadian and 89 cents per pound, 174 Canadian dollars and 24 cents. 2024, $9 Canadian and 46 cents per pound, 151 Canadian dollars and 36 cents. Total amount, in Canadian dollars, spent on turkeys alone, purchase. 2017, $117,744,000 Canadian dollars. 2018, 50,688,000 Canadian dollars. 2019, 47,952,000 Canadian dollars. 2020, 372,128,000 Canadian dollars. 2021, 330,960,000 Canadian dollars. 2022, 14,853,806 Canadian dollars and 5 cents. 2023, 453,024,000 Canadian dollars. 2024, 303,244,008 Canadian dollars and 32 cents. Total amount, in Canadian dollars, accounted for, turkey consumption. 2017, 76,533,600 Canadian dollars. 2018, 32,947,200 Canadian dollars. 2019, 31,168,800 Canadian dollars. 2020, 241,883,200 Canadian dollars. 2021, 215,124,000 Canadian dollars. 2022, 9,654,985 Canadian dollars and 65 cents. 2023, 294,465,600 Canadian dollars. 2024, 197,108,560 Canadian dollars. Total amount, in Canadian dollars, accounted for, turkey waste. 2017, 41,210,400 Canadian dollars. 2018, 17,740,800 Canadian dollars. 2019, 16,783,200 Canadian dollars. 2020, 130,244,800 Canadian dollars. 2021, 115,836,000 Canadian dollars. 2022, 5,198,820 Canadian dollars and 40 cents. 2023, 158,558,400 Canadian dollars. 2024, 106,135,448 Canadian dollars and 32 cents.
Now with all that nerdy shit out of the way, let's officially dine in on my prediction, shall we? As I've said in this community post, as of writing this on August 11th, 2025, I'm gonna officially make a prediction. If Trump says what I think he's gonna say about Christmas dinner on Christmas Day itself, all the while disinviting all Democrats from it, Canada and Canadians will abandon traditional Christmas dinner there before the US and Americans respectively do the same in 2026. Meaning that if Trump actually ends up making a comment like that, as I predicted, that would demoralize not just all Canadians in the country to varying degrees, it'll demoralize and destabilize Canada as a country entirely. How many roast turkeys would be left to be wasted after being bought? How much money would Canada lose to this one culture shock? How will it destroy Canada as a nation? These are the only questions that should be asked more often. And these are the only questions I'm going to have to answer myself. On December 25th, 2025, on the same day my original prediction concerns, if Trump makes that one comment about cannibalism and about making Christmas dinner great again, Canadian families and Canada altogether will decide to completely abandon traditional Christmas dinner, and that, by 2026, Canada will enter into the post-traditional Christmas dinner era 1 year before America does. Now, as to how many roast turkeys would be left to be wasted after being bought and slaughtered, that's a hard one to figure out. How many turkey farms are out there in Canada alone, and how many turkeys does each farm have on average? There are currently 513 of these turkey farms in Canada. If 18 million turkeys are slaughtered each year in Canada, that would mean that the average Canadian turkey farm would have to only slaughter 35,088 of them each. Between 2017 and 2024, an average of 2,290,047 turkeys were purchased each year. That means that 12.72% of the turkeys that were produced and slaughtered each year from 2017 to 2024 were purchased for Christmas alone. So imagine all of these 513 Canadian turkey farms having to lose an average of 4,464 turkeys per farm per year. They would lose a total of 2,290,032 turkeys per year, and that will only get worse as years go by.
15,709,968 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2026. 13,419,936 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2027. 11,129,904 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2028. 8,839,872 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2029. 6,549,840 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2030. 4,259,808 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2031. 1,969,776 turkeys will be slaughtered in Canada by 2032.
11 eggs are hatched on average per wild turkey hen with a success rate of 2.75, meaning that with a population of 450,000, 1,237,500 of them eggs will be hatched per year. 75% of them will die and never grow. 928,125 of them to be exact, while 309,375 of them that are hatched from these eggs will live on each year. So taking that as a cross-reference, that means for the 18 million domestic turkeys slaughtered in Canada each year, 4,500,000 of them remain to produce more of these turkeys per year up until the culture shock by the Christmas of this year in 2025. So to put this into perspective, here's the forecast of the Canadian domestic turkey population.
2026. 3,927,492. 2027, 3,354,984. 2028, 2,782,476. 2029, 2,209,968. 2030, 1,637,460. 2031, 1,064,952. 2032, 492,444.
So that means that by 2033, 8 years after the initial culture shock that will have started it all, if turkey farmers can't keep up with the losses at all, the Canadian domestic turkey will become extinct. But only the broad-breasted ones, and all of the domesticated turkeys that were domesticated artificially, not concerning wild turkeys at all. How much would that cost? The average 16-pound turkey costs an average of $5.73 Canadian per pound. That's 91 Canadian dollars and 68 cents per turkey in Canada. And how many will be wasted for each Christmas, for each respective year in Canada? Take it away, Christopher.
2026, 1,998,308. 2027, 1,707,016. 2028, 1,415,724. 2029, 1,124,432. 2030, 833,140. 2031, 541,848. 2032, 250,556. 2033, 31,871. Now, let's stack up all the prices for each year. 2026, 183,204,877 Canadian dollars and 44 cents. 2027, 156,499,226 Canadian dollars and 88 cents. 2028, 129,793,576 Canadian dollars and 32 cents. 2029, 103,087,925 Canadian dollars and 76 cents. 2030, 76,382,275 Canadian dollars and 20 cents. 2031, 49,676,624 Canadian dollars and 64 cents. 2032, 22,970,974 Canadian dollars and 8 cents. 2033, 2,921,933 Canadian dollars and 28 cents. That's a whopping total of 724,537,413 Canadian dollars and 60 cents lost in 8 years.
And finally, as to how it will destroy Canada as a nation, assuming that it does not become our 51st state, morally, financially, and it'll all be the case because of one comment: if Trump makes it at all, Canada will be no more, as the burden of all this will take its terrible toll. It'll even be just the cherry on top of an already shitty, dysfunctional, dilapidated economy. And my only grave fucking concern, for not just that country, but for our own as well, is think about what all of this potentially happening would come from. Think about why they would have to abandon a tradition if the whole point of traditions is that you never have to abandon something you can change without a care in the world. No matter what happens to a cable network, or with what a president says, or even what you watch on your own whim on television. You don't have to abandon the turkey just because you say so. You bought the meat from the damn bird, for Christ's sake. You can't just abandon the ham because somebody's gonna have to repent for the great sin of supporting something or someone they can't be bothered to understand. You don't get to just abandon the dinner tradition your whole family has held so dear for so long because two big companies bought and relaunched a religious cable network that was dying. You don't just abandon the tradition of living and being American just because Trump's our president. You don't get to talk down to anyone simply because they don't want to be forced to watch religious propaganda if they don't want to. You're not being persecuted. You're the persecutor. Being religious was never really about believing in a non-existent deity. It's a concept of how others should live life, how others should be taught how to live with themselves, and even how having a relationship with God is relatively the same as having a relationship with a woman if you're religious, much less Christian, or even yourself if you're single. Don't treat women like God would treat you, like absolute dog shit. Because let me tell you something, God is a deadbeat psychopath. Sure, Coach Red Pill says you treat women like dogs, but women can come between you and an actual dog. A dog is a lifesaver for sure, but a woman has to depend on you, so the dog can fuck off. Don't treat yourself like absolute shit, hoping and praying to God that he as a non-existent deity can treat you yourself any better. They're all the same. That's why customs and traditions come in handy only when it benefits them, as long as you're not a puppet, or rather, muppet. Being an atheist doesn't make religion any less of a choice, simply because you have none in life. If Canada can't be guided by a prime minister willing enough to commit and not burn bridges and not be so goddamn demented from having Trump derangement syndrome, Canada can fall as quickly as it can get up off its feet from the ground. But if it dies, it falls no more. That's why their symbol is the fucking maple leaf. It's the most symbolic downfall of a country that's yet to even happen, but I can feel it. I can feel it when I'm not busy being bothered by the smoke from the constant wildfires plaguing that shithole of a country. And god damn it, if you can feel it just as much or more than I do, the better the chances are that it's imminent. The leaf Canada is symbolized by its own flag comes from a tree, and only you can snatch defeat from the jaws of eventual victory by abandoning the Christmas tree, by burning it, only preserving a leaf that never came from that Christmas tree, and calling for complete abandonment of the very values that hold Canada together as a nation at all. I know that the national animal of Canada is the great North American beaver, but a maple leaf can't undo the unspeakable damage that Trump derangement syndrome does to a nation willing to die on a hill with fucking crackheads. You're not going crazy simply because there's a fire between your feet, and you're not a crackhead or a batshit schizoid simply because the beaver didn't start the fucking forest fire! A maple tree is to a maple leaf, as being independent is not to being safe and protected from yourself, because only you yourself can be your own goddamn worst enemy. And people who misuse the word psychosis should really look it the fuck up, and then tell me to my face if they can tell the difference between me being serious in what I say, or they're deluding themselves for the sake of projecting the actual psychosis they suffer onto me. And you're not an actual philosopher if you can't tell the difference between using a footstool to rest your feet on and not falling on your ass backwards. I know it sounds oxymoronic as hell, but I will say it. There's always an intelligent idiot, just as there's always a retarded genius. If you're an intellectual, you're never far from being an idiot. If you're an absolute dense unit, or dumb as shit, you're never far from being an intellectual. But none of this says anything about you if you only fall in the middle between the two. Between a dead beaver and a fucking crackhead. And before I end this rant, I would love to ask you all this one question. Which is more important for your country's sake? Canada and Canadians? Saving the tree in which this leaf fell from? Or just the leaf itself, while a Christmas tree gets to burn like it's Trump's hair? And that's about it. That's the end of the video. I'm Brian Mullins the Fox, signing out. See you next time.